Here we go.
You got the sweet setup. You got the headphones on. You got the mic.
But what's that? Hold on. Yeah.
Oh yeah, right.
I feel important. This just in.
That's right. You got. Well, what mug you got?
Yeah, this is yours. I have yours in the. No, this is. I don't even know what it is. I just like it. It's bigger. I have one that says "Man of God" on it.
Yeah.
I guess vintage, dude. Vintage. Can you see that?
Take a bite out of it?
You see, I gotta take a bite out of the top. Can you see me? Okay. I gotta bring it up.
You gotta move it back, way back. It's just too bright. It's
Too
Fresno.
bright?
What does it say? Fresno something.
1992 Fresno State baseball.
Oh, there you go.
Uh,
That was before Judge.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Definitely. These are the old days right here, man. These are good ones. So anyway, what's going on? What's going on? Bark, Bite, Salt, and Light.
What are we talking about here?
This is weird. All right, let's do it.
Yeah.
Here we go. Luckily, we're not live.
Yeah, seriously, no, we're good.
So anyway, yeah. So we got our coffees. We're ready to rock and roll. What's going on, dude? Okay, so we're not in the underground bunker. I mean, that'd be kind of cool, but we are.
No.
We're hunkered down though.
My windows aren't boarded up. Just
I actually have it cracked a little bit, letting in some fresh air. It hasn't gone airborne just yet. Who knows?
It hasn't mutated yet, like on Outbreak. Remember on the Outbreak with Dustin Hoffman and Ray Rizzo, where
no one's come back yet. Huh?
Yeah, it contracts through like spit or blood, and then
All of a sudden it mutates, and then it gets airborne, and then everyone's just done. So yeah, so it hasn't quite gone Outbreak style, but we're all right.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the biggest thing, this is definitely something that we need to be on guard for and be rightly concerned. Panic is not the thing that we should be doing. We need to think biblically about stuff, and we need to love our neighbor in the process, not buy all the water and toilet paper so our neighbors can't wipe their bums or drink or wet their whistles. But in the event it does get crazy, what's the action plan? What this is okay. I guess the disease itself deadly for a certain group of people, yet most people that are healthy are unaffected.
Mhm.
And then we have people that I don't know. I guess the point that I'm trying to get at, this seems like it's being blown out of proportion, and it is being politically driven, and this is
Well, it's like there's something else going on. I mean, obviously we're seeing deaths, right? There's something that just came up. There's a 34-year-old dude. I think he was in Pasadena. He just died. I think he had a compromised immune system, though. I think he was a cancer survivor or something. So he had like a previous thing. I mean, it's definitely not something to be taken
lightly. I mean, it's awful that anyone dies, especially someone being apart from Christ. That if they die, I mean, that's absolutely terrible. But yeah, it's the 65 and older that are mainly at risk, and it's kind of the inverse of the swine flu, where it was little kids when swine flu, the H1N1.
Or as Joe Biden says, N1H1.
your AR-14.
Yeah, your AR-14s. So, but no, the little kids, and I get it because I had swine flu. I got that back in 2009. I was bedridden for like 4 days, and I felt like my head was going to split in half, and I was like, I couldn't move. Yeah. So as a 24-year-old dude or 20, whatever I was back then.
Getting that, some little kid, some little tyke getting that, I mean, for sure, dude. I could see how a little kid could die from that, but
at the same time, too, I could see how an old person could die from swine flu. But you didn't hear about a lot of older people dying, I guess, from swine flu. I could be wrong. I know it was mainly young kids, but. Anyway. Yeah.
What do you think about? I mean, this is what, like a normal? I mean, not a normal flu, but this is a variation of the flu. I believe the normal influenza kills about 15,000 to 20,000 people in this nation every year. You know what are the death rates up at right now? I
don't even know. California right now, it was 300 and what was it 354? Is that what it said? I think it was.
Death? No, I believe.
Yeah. No. I think so. I just read the Gavin Newsom put something out, and I was kind of dumbfounded by it. I went, wait, how many?
I know there was 900 or 978 cases.
Is that what it was?
In California.
Oh well, that's what you get when you're reading and you're driving and reading. I was like, going, wait a minute.
354 dead or sick? It might have been people that got it, and then it had the death toll on there. So I got to look at it again. So I could be fake news right now.
So I don't want to be fake news. So
yeah.
Definitely fact check me on that.
So going back to that H1N1, I mean, there are a lot of talk. People are getting wild about. I mean, with any epidemic or pandemic, whatever, people are going to not like. We as a nation, obviously, the lower end of us, like just normal, everyday, average Joes, are going to feel some sort of like a helplessness because
I'm not average. I'm not average. Ask my children. I'm Superman. No, I'm
there you
definitely
go.
not. So,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So,
for the average, the below average Joes like myself.
Let's just say us regular folk that I believe it comes from like the state becomes our god, right?
Oh,
now
dude.
obviously not us, but
yeah. I'm
So
sorry, I have a good
segue. So hold on, the state becoming your god. Continue.
Okay, yeah. So the state becomes our god. So when this type of stuff happens, we tend to like everyone's so helpless and know anything right. No matter who's in power, like our president, they're going to not do anything right. I actually believe that Donald Trump has done a wonderful job in this. I'm not let me state, I am not a Donald Trump. I'm not a, what are they called? I'm not part of the MAGA crew. He is our president, and I'm not a huge fan of his rhetoric. He has done far surpassed what I thought he was going to do, and
you can't deny it. I mean, obviously things have changed overnight, but you can't deny lowest unemployment rate
for minorities, best economy you've had in decades. I mean, you can't deny. I mean, numbers
don't lie. It's like saying someone's a terrible baseball player, and you're like, bro, the guy's hit 350 4 years in a row, and he's had 30 jacks. Yeah, but he's garbage. Look at his numbers, dude.
But he bat flips too much and showboats all the time.
Yeah, I know. It's like numbers don't lie. I don't care who you are. Numbers don't lie. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean,
I was just thinking that. I mean, look at right away. I'm going to tie it into that H1N1 thing I alluded to. But
I know you bring it back. You're setting the table.
So he put travel bans back in January. People were like, "Oh, Trump's racist. Oh, he's racist for doing this." But if he didn't, what would have happened? You think of it like that. But then you have Obama with H1N1. He didn't do a thing until 1,000 people had died in the U.S. So I believe.
But he did a great job though.
Yeah,
he did a great job. I mean, he was the best. He could do nothing wrong. Right.
Yeah. So I mean, he did take a lot of crap at that, but no one's talking. You notice that no one has brought up the H1N1 stuff.
No. Look at the highlights. Well, if it was such a big deal to that presidency, how come Joe Biden can't even get the name of it right? N1H1.
It's like you must have spent a lot of time studying the N1H1 virus if it was that big of a deal. I mean, come on,
In his defense, he might have early onset dementia.
I honestly, you get all the GIFs or the GIFs or whatever it is, but a lot of he's just great gaff material. I mean, it's funny, it's funny. I mean, it still is funny, but it's funny. But then you start really looking at it, going, "No, the man's brain is depleting." I mean, he's got issues. I mean, all men were created in the
the thing. It's like people we forget how much people were making fun of George Bush for saying like, "Fool me once," and the thing is, you're not going to fool me.
What's wrong?
Yeah.
But nobody's remembering that. Now, I mean, it's like, this is 10 times worse than any, like, the flubs that George Bush had. I mean, George
Bush had some flubs. I have people in my family, my brother especially, that would always make fun of George Bush, like he's an idiot, he's a fool. But so now it's like, where are all the people now that were heckling Bush? Why aren't they heckling Biden? Because Biden's doing the exact same things, but like on a more broader scale. I mean, social media is huge, and his are way worse. I mean, they're way worse. He's like,
he goes on these rants, and you're going, what did he say about truth? And he's like, truth outweighs the facts. And you go, what? He goes, this is my wife. Wait, no, it's my sister.
This is my wife. Wait, they switched on me. He's biting people's hands and smelling people. I don't know. It's odd. It's just odd behavior. And then he says he marched in the civil rights. During the civil rights, he was marching. And then he said he got arrested with Nelson Mandela, and he didn't
get arrested with Nelson Mandela. I was just there. It's like, oh my God, really? Like, come on, man. Yeah, I played in the World Series. You did? And then, well, actually, I was in the crowd.
Yeah, I was just there. I bought a ticket.
Yeah, I bought a ticket. Yeah, right. Exactly. So anyway, okay, H1N1.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. Why don't you take it to the? Well, I want to hear that point. You have me on a cliffhanger with that the state being our God.
Good with that. You see this a lot with Mormonism. Yeah. The state becomes the God. They dictate the state. It's funny how, when it comes to
the state coming down or the government coming down on the LDS church, they get a revelation and God changed his mind. Blacks can hold the priesthood.
Yeah.
It goes back to polygamy. No more polygamy. Or this is what's going to happen. Oh, wait. God said no more. No more polygamy, guys. Sorry. Then it goes 1978, blacks holding the priesthood. Wait, God told me that blacks, okay, yeah. They can hold the priesthood now. All is well. So it's amazing how the state dictates.
Their skin's not cursed anymore?
Apparently not. It's still, I mean, hey, it's still there. I mean, I haven't seen anybody that's black or Native American or whatever become white and delightsome, like the 1830 Book of Mormon
says. But now it's been changed to pure and I forget what it is, like pure and not wholesome or something like that. But anyway, then now you have the new stuff about
that is more recent, obviously, with LDS Church, more as the baptizing the kids of the homosexual kids of what is it? It has to do with baptism with kids that are homosexual in the LDS Church. Help me if you know it. Help me with it.
I don't.
Okay, it's kind of it's the newer thing. It's pretty fresh. So, but yeah, there's
you're the Mormon guy.
I know.
I'm a little rusty on which one it is, so I don't want to just start spouting off stuff. But that's becoming more accepted. Where I know there was people outside of General Conference that were just, oh hey, yeah, it's all good. A lot of hugs to that.
Then there was a name that came out as the Latter-day Saints. It was
that's the one I heard. I did hear that
Latter-day Saints. So I mean, it's become more accepted now. And
well, you have look at BYU recently with the changing of their policy about, I guess, feeling pressure from the culture and whatnot. They had a change in their policy to where there's no obviously fornication is still not
okay within for the students at the university.
However, there's no differentiation between male and male holding hands or kissing or anything like that. And right in front of Brigham Young's statue, dudes were kissing, girls were kissing, taking pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you had mentioned it's escaping me. With the polygamy thing. So what do you think the future holds for the Mormon Church and polygamy? You have things like obviously gay marriage under the Obama administration has came to fruition, and then you have all these polyamorous relationships and all this stuff. So isn't polygamy just something that's next on the agenda, wouldn't you say?
I would. I would.
Because, I mean, anything can go at this point. I mean, who's to say that you're not going to have some young, zealous dude come in from the LDS, just up and coming from the LDS ranks and say,
well, we're gonna get back. Well, there needs to be another restoration. There's another restoration of what it really said, because I was in Deseret Book in Utah, and look what I found. I found an 1830 version. We've changed everything. We need to go back to the way it was, right?
Well, I'm sure that they all still know, because you have polygamy is part of it because of the merit. I mean, you how are you going to populate your planet one day without it? But I'm saying we're in a unique time in our culture where things are changing to where this is actually a process, because I mean you are a
reasonable possibility, because you have
the U.S. government coming against the LDS Church back then, saying, no, it's illegal, you can't do this. And now we're at a time where now it could actually come back, because
it could.
Yeah.
Well, just taking it back real quick, I said some young zealous LDS kid, some Mormon kid, would find an 1830 version of the Book of Mormon, but he wouldn't have to find that in the Book of Mormon because it's not there. Polygamy is not in the Book of Mormon. So I got to recant my statement. They would find it actually in Pro-Grade Price or Doctrine and Covenants, and those are two requirements to actually to have the. Well, if the Book of Mormon is the fullness of the gospel and polygamy and everything else isn't there, well,
why isn't it there? If that's the fullness of the gospel, all these books, D&C and Pro-Grade Price, so Book of Mormon isn't the fullness of the gospel, right?
You see what I'm saying? It's not the fullness of the gospel, because you still need a Pro-Grade Price and D&C, and that's what they hang their hats on. Because, like we talked about with those Mormon dudes that we're going to talk about in a little bit, Book of Mormon teaches one God, and it talks nothing of exaltation, never talks about becoming a god. And then you have Pro-Grade Price and D&C saying you have to involve yourself in polygamy. Well, Brigham Young said this. He said, if you don't engage in
polygamous practice, you're destined for eternal damnation, right? But apparently everything that Brigham Young says is garbage, because
everything becomes a theory that Brigham Young says.
Oh no, that's just a theory. The Quorum of the 12 didn't approve all of that. You there?
Yeah, it's just a theory. It's just a theory that I'm here. Yeah, we broke up a little bit. It's okay, but no, exactly. It's just a theory, right? Everything becomes a theory when it comes into collision with what the culture's saying. I mean, if something's because they know it's offensive, like becoming a god, saying to be damned if you don't engage in polygamous activity. In this context, in the 21st century, people go,
"What?" I'm like, "Oh, well, that was just Brigham. Brigham was just kind of like."
He's kind of out there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though him and Joseph were homies, they were buddies, dude. If you look at Fawn Brody's book, No Man Knows My History, you see Brigham Young come along, and Joseph Smith is just enthralled by this guy. I mean, he thinks this guy is the bee's knees, and he takes him to a prayer meeting. Joseph
takes him to a prayer meeting, and Joseph's been trying to separate himself from like all these Congregationalists that are like going to these tent revivals and rolling around and speaking in tongues and doing all this weird stuff. And he takes him to this prayer meeting, Brigham Young, and Joseph Smith's like, Brother Brigham's gonna go ahead and pray, and he starts to pray. And Brigham starts going like,
like shit about a Hyundai, like starts speaking in tongues. And you can just see the way Fawn Brody describes this. Joseph Smith, you could almost picture it. His eyes are closed, and Young starts doing this thing, and he's like, "What is this guy doing?" And everybody kind of stops and like, "What is he doing?" He's like, "This is the this is the original language of Adam. This is the original language. This is the Adamic language that Brother Brigham has brought along. He's been given the power of the Holy Spirit." And so everyone's like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? It's almost like you can picture like Martin Harris like going, yeah, this is it. Because Martin Harris is the most gullible guy on the planet. He gave all his money away pretty much to Joseph to write this book. He's like, oh, yeah, whatever
Joseph says is true. Which is funny because speaking of Martin Harris, I know we're kind of skipping ahead here, but I'm going to bring it up anyway because it's in the flow of the conversation.
Do you remember our conversation in our third dialogue with our last one with Elder Austin? I asked him, I mentioned the first 116 pages of the Book of Mormon.
Yeah, where the ones that were lost, the lost pages.
The first 116 pages of what ones that were lost, right?
Yeah.
Do you know how they were lost? Okay, so people that don't know how they were lost is
and then
Martin Harris.
that the first 116 pages were supposedly the only ones he translated with the Ermin Thummim.
Yeah.
And then those were lost, and then he just said, you know what, forget it. We're gonna use the Seer Stone for their entire thing.
Yeah, let's get rid of the Urim and Thummim that God gave me. We're gonna throw that out, and we're gonna get the stone that I used to transcribe or to find stuff, to use it for magic, my magic stone,
and I put in the hat to find treasure, right? Like, forget God's spectacles. Let's just throw this magical stone in there. I'll use that. But do you know how they were lost? Do you know how the 116 pages were lost?
I do not. I'm sure you do, though. I'm waiting for it.
Okay. So obviously you haven't seen South Park when they do their Joseph Smith rendition of. You got to watch it. They do a whole thing.
I've heard from so many. South Park's hard for me to watch just with how crude it is, but I think everyone has told me that they depict the LDS Church really well.
Pretty right on. But I mean, I didn't learn my theology from South Park, my Mormon theology.
Disclaimer.
Yeah, so the first 116 pages went like this, okay? He wrote them, and Martin Harris had them, and his wife was like, if I'm putting money into this.
I want to read them. I want to see them. I want to read them. He was like, okay, sure. Sounds great, hon. She gets them, and they just disappear.
And they're gone. And Martin Harris is like, what happened to him? And she's pretty much like, I don't know. She's like, if he's a real prophet, he can redo them. So she wants to see if he's legit. And so he goes, wait a minute. Joseph's like, wait a minute. God changed his mind. You know what? Basically, he's just kind of like, it's a wash. He's giving me a new revelation. We're going to do some new stuff. And that's where he brought in like half the book of Isaiah and kind of implanted it
in there in the first 116 pages. And he basically was like, I'll make up for this. And so she was testing him, basically. Martin Harris's wife was like, look, man, I'm not going to get hoodwinked by doing this. So if he's a real prophet, he's going to be able to redo the 116 pages
without fail or without any problems. So that's what happened.
So the only problem is we don't have those to compare to see how well he did.
No, because Moroni took the plates and he flew them to heaven and they're gone. So, but we do have the book. We do have the book of Abraham. So we could test the book of Abraham, which has been done numerous times, and we bring that up. It was kind of
for those that don't know. Go ahead and briefly explain what the book of Abraham is.
Okay. So book of Abraham. You can find it in the Pearl Great Price. So book of Abraham. There's a guy named Michael Chandler in 1835. He was basically I don't know. I guess the best way I can describe it is kind of like
I picture it kind of like a junker on Mad Max. You know, they just sell stuff, right? He comes into Kirtland, Ohio. I think it was Kirtland, Ohio. He comes into Kirtland where Joseph Smith was and the Mormons were, and he'd already published 1830 Book of Mormon.
He comes in and he has basically an Egyptian exhibit, and he was supposed to be selling these things for another guy, and he ended up losing. Something happened in between where this guy that was having him sell these things, they lost connection. So he was kind of a rogue guy on his own, just kind of selling stuff of this Egyptian exhibit that he had. There's different parchments and mummies and things like that. So anyway, he comes to Joseph because he hears he's this guy he's a seer, or he's a prophet, seer, and revelator. So he goes to him, and so that's where he has
there's these mummies, and then there's some fragments, and he said he looks at him and goes, oh, this is the book of Abraham. These are the lost books of Abraham and Joseph, so they're like, okay, well, because he's already been able to transcribe Egyptian hieroglyphics, or Reformed Egyptian, right? So like, okay, this is Egyptian, so he knows Reformed Egyptian. So anyway, he transcribes these pages, right, that he finds that are on the breastplate of this mummy, and so which is funny because why would an Egyptian be buried with Hebrew, right, with Hebrew history on his breastplate? It makes no sense. But who's gonna know, right? Nobody's gonna know, because no one's and he can pretty much say anything he wants that this thing says, because they hadn't found the Rosetta Stone yet.
There's a guy named shoot, I can't think of his name. Champion, like he's like Francois Champion. I don't know. I can't remember his name. I'll butcher it right now. But he's the guy that found the Rosetta Stone in the 1820s. It hadn't made its way to the States yet. So that by the time it made it to the States, it was until like the mid 1800s or something like that. But anyway, Joseph had transcribed it. He said it was the Book of Abraham, and this is where we get, Kolob. We get Abraham on the altar being sacrificed by. I'm drawing a blank right now, but Abraham's being sacrificed on the altar and all this junk. But anyway, after the Rosetta Stone comes out, it gets tested. The Book of Abraham basically, after Joseph Smith was killed at Carthage, there was a split. Brigham Young took all of his.
Most of the LDS people into Utah. Emma, Joseph's wife, took them elsewhere, and she actually took the Book of Abraham with her. She ended up selling it. It ended up in a museum. Then in Chicago, that burned. That was
a great Chicago fire, right?
Chicago fire. Yeah.
Anyway, these end up making their way into New York. They end up being discovered because on the back of this parchment that was left behind on this scroll, there was like an old temple that was being drawn, and also there was
signature of Joseph Smith and Emma. So like these are legit. So at that point, they knew this was Mormon literature. I guess you could say they owned it. So now was the time to test. It was the time to test these things. Let's test these things.
So after Egyptologists studied this and looked at it, he said he didn't get one word right, but he failed miserably and on every word. Doesn't even make sense. That it's just an embarrassment. And I mean, you have the top Egyptologists that look at this and they go, it's an absolute epic fail. And plus,
this isn't even Abraham here. I mean, we're looking at an embalming scene of the Book of the Dead. This is common practice for Egyptians to have on their person or on their corpse after they've been embalmed.
If you look at the Book of Abraham and you look at old funerary texts, Egypt funerary texts, you'll see that it's identical virtually, except Joseph changed the head, and he also changed a couple other things. Instead of a hand gripping a phallus, he changed it to a knife. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, it's amazing the way but people just bought into it. They just took Joseph as this prophet, as the prophet, seer, and revelator, and they were duped. And it's obviously a fake book. And there's also more things too. There's also the hyposyphilis that's in there that goes under it's basically a saucer that goes under the head of the dead. It's almost like their
token to take the passage into the land of the dead. But he was saying this was Kolob, and this is Heavenly Father on the throne. This is Elohim on the throne, and this here is this. I mean, so here's the 3 levels of heaven. I mean, he just made everything up. He just made it all up, and now you look at it, and it's all just Egyptian stuff.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with any type of Hebrew whatsoever. And then now it's been changed, where they say, well, this was God. Joseph used this. I forget what the
theory is. It's not a theory. It's called the. It escapes my brain. There's actually a smart. There's a name for it where it's. This was by looking at this, God inspired him to see what really happened.
And I forget what the name of it is. It's like, I'm looking at this picture, and now God's inspiring me to tell a story from the Bible. You know what I mean? That's what they're saying it is now. And there's actually a name that they have for it, and it escapes my brain. But it's a really cool letter by a former Mormon, and it's called the CES letter.
I just read it the other day. It's like 130 something. It really should be. I mean, it should be published into a book. Really, it's like 130 pages. But 5th generation Mormon. He's a deaf guy. Really intelligent dude. He's not a Christian anymore. He's not an atheist.
He's not a Mormon anymore. He's not a Christian. I think he's just agnostic, maybe. but he had a million questions for the LDS Church and wrote to them, and he put all these out in a letter, and he mentions this in the letter is that term for just basically having some sort of inspiration, some divine inspiration by looking at Egypt,
just Egyptian hieroglyphics or whatever. So anyway, that was pretty long winded. That was my
brief. Thanks.
Yeah, it was brief. Yeah, by Book of Abraham briefness, but I mean, it's worth looking into. It's one of those things where it's just kind of fascinating. I mean, I'm a little rusty right now on some of the different terms that are used for it. I mean, and even Book of Abraham. I mean, it's interesting just to look at what actually is, and then what he proclaimed it to be. So.
Yeah. Well, you had mentioned that you said that, oh, well, people just believed him because it was Joseph. And it's interesting because I remember even in our conversation in the third dialogue, we're bringing up, I remember there's one point where we were bringing up those false prophecies. First we go through Deuteronomy 13 and 18, and then we're like, we all established that, if you give false prophecy, you're a false prophet. If you lead after another god, you're a false prophet. And they agreed to it too. And then we just go through and give false prophecy after false prophecy in their scripture that Joseph Smith had given, and they were like, "Whoa, no, there's another way to explain it. No, there's got to be another way. No, there's this, And then you even brought up the point. Okay, you're all. What if I forget the prophet's name right now? What is this?
It's Nelson, their current
Nelson.
prophet.
Yeah, and he's like, well, if he came in and told you this, what would you do? And he goes, well, I'd believe him, no matter what. Yeah, I'd believe him.
I totally respected that dude for saying that. Yeah, I believe him, because I mean he was being consistent in that moment. But when it comes to, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what it is. There's like a
glitch in the synapses where you start bringing out false prophecy to false prophecy. You're like, oh, how are we not?
How are we not getting this?
There's just like, I think the thing is that they don't even, there's no testing. They would never test them. If they believe him to be a prophet, he is a prophet. We accept everything that he says.
Because they're not supposed to, because doubting is wrong. You're not supposed to doubt. I mean, because that just shows you that you
could end up becoming a son of perdition. If you doubt, you don't want to doubt, and you don't want to be. I mean, there's a big fear factor too. You know what I mean? It's not as bad as a Jehovah's Witness where they're shunning, but I mean, it's pretty close where it's just like,
we get excommunicated.
Yeah, you get excommunicated, but at the same time, you still have people that are like, they're gonna look you in the eye and treat you like a person. Where Jehovah's Witness,
you're a leper.
What's that?
You're a leper.
No, you are. You really are. You may as well just be walking around saying unclean, unclean. So but no, what's interesting though is I mean, we've always said it before, just from reading Kokel's book Tactics, is putting the rock in their shoe. I mean, that's the biggest thing.
I think everybody that read Kokel's book has taken that away, and I think we definitely put a lot of rocks in their shoes. But it would be nice for them to kind of investigate it. I mean, just one thing. I mean, just one thing for them to investigate and see what's up. I mean, especially the essentials. I mean, obviously there's the adiaphora stuff where you go, okay, let's talk about the anachronisms. Because we brought up all this stuff in the Book of Mormon, the anachronisms. We talked about there's steel in the Book of Mormon. There's barley, there's wheat, and all these things hadn't even been in the Americas. They weren't in the Americas in the BC era, right? I mean, that for them was kind of like, but I mean, it's still important, but it's not important as going, look, you're saying that Jesus and God the Father are the exact same being, but then they're not being consistent with that. They're like, they're the same person, interchangeable. Then you have
Joseph seeing Heavenly Father and in the sacred grove, and then he says, "This is my son. Listen to him." And then you have two beings, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't make there's glitches in their theology, and they don't get it when they're explaining stuff. You're like, because you said it yourself. You said, I forget what point it was. You said, but you don't believe that. It was
he was in the second dialogue. He's searching for explain to me how God the Father and Jesus are the same person. And I'm like, we're waiting for him. I think I looked at you a couple times. You looked at me. We're like, and I was like, all right, he's taking too long. I'm just gonna let him know. I was like, but you don't even believe that,
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
you're
Exactly.
you're trying to explain away a contradiction, yet you don't even believe it. As you're well, what does it solve once you explain this? Because you don't believe that,
What? Let me ask you this.
What is the biggest hang up, do you think, when you are sitting down with a Jehovah's Witness, with a Mormon? What's the biggest hang up when you say that you are Trinitarian?
Like, what's the biggest hang up for them? What is it that I mean, I have the answer, and I think you do. Is what's their biggest hang up? Why is it that they get so tripped up?
I mean, they have a misunderstanding of what it actually is, like what the doctrine of the Trinity actually teaches. A lot of times
they see it as
they see it as a couple different ways. So a lot of times we have, like, Jehovah's Witnesses, for example, would believe it to be something like modalism, where they see him as we're saying that the Father is Jesus and Jesus is the Father, and all this stuff.
Because right. I'm just inserting something real quick. It's like, I've had conversations with Jehovah's Witnesses, and they'll say, like, so who's he praying to? He's praying to himself then? Is that
exactly? Yeah.
It's like,
He's a ventriloquist.
He's a ventriloquist at his baptism, or So you're saying Jesus is the Father, and that's they don't understand.
That's the biggest hang up with them, and I think for the Mormons, they would be they see the distinctions, but they don't understand that from cover to cover, the Bible's teaching there's one God. How do you explain that within what God is revealing about himself? Yeah. So how do you explain that Jesus is God, that the Holy Spirit is God, that God the Father is God, yet there's one God? How do you explain that? The way they explain it is, okay, well, one God can't be one God. It must be multiple gods because they're all God.
But Jesus is they'll say Jesus is either he's created in both of them. In Jehovah's Witnesses, he's created, and even with Mormonism, he's created, because Heavenly Mother, and Heavenly Father, they had to come together to essentially create Jesus by having sex, celestial sex,
and then birthing Jesus, and then Brother Lucifer comes along, right? So I mean, ultimately, but he ends up being a lesser God in both, right? Because Jehovah's Witnesses, he is a God, and even if you question him, you believe. So Jesus is.
You believe in two gods?
You believe in two gods? No. We believe in God because there's Almighty. But in John 1:1, it says, "In the beginning was the Word. The beginning was the Word.
The Word was with God. The Word was God, or was a God. Sorry, the Word was a God in the New World Translation. So he is a lesser God in the New World Translation. So there's two gods, which comes in collision with Isaiah 43:10. And then in Mormonism, he is one of the gods of this earth, because they believe in three gods for this earth, right? The Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. They believe in three beings rather than three persons in one being.
And obviously they believe in multiple billions of gods, because there's an eternal regression of gods. So, when there's no consistency, so it just falls apart. I mean, at every turn. So, and he can't. Yeah. Then they would say, "Oh yeah, Jesus is eternal," right? Because didn't that happen in our conversation, in conversation 1, where they said he's eternal, and we're going, how can he be eternal if he's the first creation, or if he's the literal offspring of Heavenly Mother and Heavenly Father? Was that conversation or no?
Yeah, and I don't know. They were like in the pre-exist. I don't know. They have a bunch of terminology that's why I guess definitions are just so important. And oh my.
Well, it's like, I mean, in Kingdom of the Cults, obviously Walter Martin says it best. You have to scale the language barrier, because everyone's using the same language out there. They hijack the Christian language. They use Jesus, they use God, they use salvation, they use grace, they use Mary, they use
Garden of Gethsemane. I mean, they're using every bit of terminology, but there's completely different meanings imputed into those. And
I mean, the scary thing is, you have a lot of evangelicals sitting in the churches today that you also have to scale the language barrier with, because they because they have a different warped idea of God is. So, is your soundtrack ready?
Yeah, well, it just stopped, and it was like, it was just like, it got silent, and I could just hear it ringing. I don't know. No, I couldn't do it.
Gotcha.
I grown accustomed to the background noise now.
Nice.
I could hear my brain thinking. It was just a little weird. I had to
Get stuff going.
Yeah.
But one interesting thing too, and we had a very unique interaction. Like our interaction was not like your everyday dialogue with LDS members of the LDS Church, because usually they're like, you got to get to the. We had a unique situation where we could get into the audiophoros stuff that you were talking about, like the anachronisms and failed prophecies and.
Yeah. And that's the only time I would say get into that stuff like we were doing, because we had time. I mean, really, you look at our total hours, it was almost 4 hours of dialogue with these dudes. Really, I mean, probably 3.5, 4. But you don't have that when when one of these dudes is on their bike.
Well, not even counting the times that we weren't recording, where we were sitting down eating with them and
talking with them. Well, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. I mean, so you have that much dialogue,
but when you see these dudes on their bikes and you pull over, you know what I mean? And you're like, hey, what's going on, guys? Or if they approach you, you only have so much time. And also they want to, once you start pressing them, they kind of want to bail. I mean, I mean, I've talked to several
sister missionaries, and I mean, my friend just got an email, or she got a text the other day from, how about this? Okay, I didn't tell you about this. I sat down with 3 Mormon girls with one of my friends, and she wanted me to come over and help talk with these girls.
So I talked with them, and so I talked with these girls, and I was asking them hard questions. You know, I'm asking them hard questions and challenging their worldview. And then after I was done, I was like, hey, next time have my wife come. I think it's a little intimidating having a 35-year-old man, you know, with 3 20-something-year-old girls. I mean, that's kind of a tough spot to be in. So my wife went, and she pretty much pressed them on the same thing, but in a loving way. I mean, if anyone, you know, watches this, they can watch our videos and see what our approach is like. It's completely loving. It's cool. And we don't start yelling at them, telling them they're going to burn in hell or anything. But, you know, the approach is the same. So anyway, with that being said,
we don't yell at them and tell them that, but we tell them what the scripture says.
Well, yeah, right. We're not getting cray yelling at them and sweating them. We're letting them know in a loving way, like, hey, here's the deal. But
because why though? Because we love them and because we care about them, and we believe wholeheartedly that God keeps His promises, and what He says is, if you die apart from Christ, you will.
Yeah.
Well, and you got to let somebody know the house is on fire. I mean, really, you can't just walk by the house and go, man, but they're sleeping so peacefully in there. Look at that guy, man. He's like in his REM cycle right now. I don't want to wake him up. It's like, no, wake him up, dude. He's about to get burned alive. But anyway, so this girl sends a text to my friend, and she sent me a screenshot of it, and she said, look at what she sent me. The girl said, hey, this is Sister.
Her name was Sister Jenkins, and she goes, it's. Then she said I think her first name's Sarah. I could be wrong. We'll just say it's Sarah. It's Sarah now, because I'm off my mission. I'm back home, and you know what? I just want to let you know, I felt attacked by Brett and Corinne. And you can't play innocent anymore, because I know that you weren't innocent about what you did, and that it really hurt me or something like that. And you said, I have no idea why I'm doing this, but I felt like I should do this.
And I went, what? I was like, no way. I said, I asked her, are you going to respond? And I kind of made a few little notes to her, like, if you're going to go on your mission, how can you not be ready to defend your faith or be attacked? I don't get that. I've never got that. It's like, why would you feel like you're being attacked by someone? You're the person that's coming to this person's doorstep, and you're basically challenging their faith, because if you look at it, Joseph Smith is the one that said all their creeds are an abomination.
All the professors are corrupt. He's the guy that drew first blood, right? So you're expecting,
you started it.
Yeah, it's exactly right. As you started it, right? I mean, Rambo would say that. He said you drew first blood, so he retaliates, right? But I asked her, are you going to respond? She goes, no, I'm not. I'm going to take my parents' advice. They said, just love, just sit back and just pray for her. I was like,
yeah, it's a good idea. I said, I personally would respond, but I understand. I would pray for this person. And if she responds, I say, because the Holy Spirit's working on her heart. There's something that was said that's bothering her. And I would definitely, if she texts me back, I would definitely respond, because obviously something would, if she texts a second time, something's bothering her, and you got to respond. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously I'd respond off the bat and be like, hey,
because she's got your phone number. I'd be like, hey, well, let's talk about it. Call me, or let's do a Skype. You know what I mean, or whatever. Let's talk about it. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. I don't know what got us on that topic, but that's,
who knows? There's no script.
Yeah.
So we don't make this go too long. I was thinking about so I sent the final like goodbye text. I mean, a couple days after we had that last meeting, hoping to keep the dialogue open. I know I haven't got anything from Elder Austin. I mean, he's been home for 2.5, 3 weeks maybe. Coronavirus has hit. So I mean that could cause some stuff, but I haven't got anything from Elder Wayman. And it's not like they can even. I wonder what a missionary does.
I know. I was just talking to my wife about that. I go, what are these missionaries doing? I mean, can they go out? I mean, can the Jehovah's Witnesses, they're gonna be knocking on your door? Or are they gonna be? Because this is their wheelhouse right now. This is their wheelhouse. I mean, this is like end of the world stuff. So this is
and they can't even go out and.
What the thing too is, and it's the perfect evangelistic opportunity for us, because I mean, really, they're gonna come to your door, or they're gonna have something by the post office set up,
and you go talk to them, and they're gonna ask you. They're going to bring up some obscure passage about, famines and wars and rumors of wars, and this is a famine or whatever it is. And the thing is, like, why should I believe you? You guys were wrong about 1914, 1918, 1925, 1975. What makes you right about this? Why should I believe you?
You see the signs. Did you hear wars, rumors of wars? There's going to be disease and famine.
You're right.
Don't you know?
Yeah, like this hasn't happened for centuries, right? So, but that's the thing is, you go. There's been a lot of these things that have happened over the course of a century, and the end still hasn't come yet. So, and again,
why would I listen to you? Because you've had several false prophecies. How do I know you're not right about this? And two, where's the hope? I'm not a part of the 144,000. Neither are you.
I'm heading for annihilation. So who cares?
No, you can get paradise on earth.
Yeah, but if you mess up on the paradise on earth, you get annihilated.
Yeah.
Because you're not good enough to make it on the paradise earth. So ultimately, you're going to get annihilated. Who cares? So
what's the point?
And what's the point? But yeah, no, I'm curious about what the missionaries are doing. So you hit up Wayman and nothing, huh?
No, nothing. Well, I sent it before Elder Austin went home just so he'd get it. I mean, I even gave like that inside joke that we had. I was like, but I bid you guys adieu. But hopefully it's not forever. Reach out to me. Nothing. I heard nothing back. So I'm going to send another text probably here in the next couple days. And just continue to pray about it. And the thing is that I felt really promising. Elder Wayman seemed like he understood. Like I feel like he wasn't so. I don't want to say this in a real like a demeaning way or anything, but like brainwashed. He didn't have such a Mormon lens, because he
said he was barely even still learning all the LDS
teachings, So I mean, when I'm teaching them both out of Ephesians 2:8-9 about it being grace and faith apart from works, and Austin's like,
"Do you get this?
Do you get this?" And he's like, "Yeah, no, I get it. Like you don't."
And the thing is, we have to understand. I think he's what, 5th generation?
Yeah.
Was he 5th generation? I keep getting my numbers slipped.
Maybe 3rd. I think it was 3rd.
I think the thing was he has 5 siblings. Maybe that's what's sticking out in my head, right? Does he have 5 siblings?
Yeah.
He's 5 or
something. He has all sisters, but that's the thing is when you grow up in that, I mean, that's all and that's the truth, because it's been just fed to you. I mean, that's your community, because they get very wrapped up in the community, and it's the community, not the doctrine. I mean, it's the bottom line. I mean, really, you get wrapped up in the community. That's it. I mean, that's really it, because they are. I mean, they're sweet people. They're really cool. They dress nice. They look good. They look a lot cleaner than I do. So it's, you know what I mean? I mean, it's a little bit more homey, a little more inviting. So yeah, of course it looks good, but unfortunately, I mean, it's like the Pharisees, or the whitewashed tombs full of dead man's bones.
And it's a work-based system. Just like everything else outside of Christ is works, right? So hopefully, hopefully we put the rock in his shoe and he investigates. Because I mean, he was taking notes, dude. You know what I mean? He was taking notes, and he came back with his template that other time, that third round, and that was cool. I was glad he did that. And but there's other things. I mean, I really wanted to leave him with the Book of Abraham stuff, to look into that. But also the Brigham Young stuff is very scathing. I mean, it's scathing when you have somebody who says that God came,
Elohim came down from heaven and had sex with one of his offspring, Mary, right? It's his daughter. I mean, if you look at it, he came down from heaven, from the celestial, and had sex with his daughter.
But he was also Adam too.
He's also Adam. He's also, Elohim's Adam. He's Michael. I mean, he's everybody. You know what I mean?
The Ancient of Days.
Yeah. But you know what's funny about that? I'm going to open up a can of worms right here. Is Kenneth Copeland has a similar theology. He said that Adam was God manifest in the flesh.
Yeah. Well, that's just to let so you could know that you're God too, and you have powers. It's.
Well, here's my question though. If Kenneth
Copeland can calm storms, how come he hasn't just like
poof, coronavirus, be gone?
Well, didn't you hear he prayed about it? That there was something, I had watched it, but he was like even dripping like oil off his hands praying out. It was like on TV.
Oh, come on, for real? Well, and Rodney Brown just recently had his.
I'm gonna look for it and put it in the description for you.
Yeah. Rodney Howard Brown, he just preempted for a false prophecy too.
He said that Florida would not see the coronavirus; that it would pass over them.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, the thing is, if you have the ability and if you have the ability and the authority to cut the coronavirus off for the state of Florida, why wouldn't you spread that to the rest of the United States or even the rest of the world if you can cease it, if you have the power to do that?
Right. Well, exactly. And where's that supernatural school of ministry up there in Bethel, dude? How come they're not stepping up? You know?
Well, they're still fledgling, so they don't have their full. I don't know if they have their full wands or what Hogwarts.
Hogwarts, yeah.
Hogwarts, exactly.
They're getting ready for the Quidditch Cup. They canceled all the real sports they got to
play. Right, exactly. They're gearing up for the battle in Middle Earth. Wait, that's Lord of the Rings.
That's all to say. What Battlestar Galactica? We'll leave it with this. This is a random side note. I've seen James White. He drew the striking similarities between it. So you have these the people that are the main characters in there, and they're trying to get back to their home planet, but it's Cobalt. And then there's those like translucent or like silhouette, like blinding light beings, and they're like, as we are, or as you are, we once were, and as we are, you may become. Literally written by.
Yeah, as God is, man may become. Yeah, because all the writers on that were returned missionaries.
Yeah.
How about that, man?
It's funny though. I mean, so I saw the thing, like James White said, he was like, I never understood. My grandpa was quoting Isaiah to the TV screen. I was like, calm down, Grandpa.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy, and that's another interesting thing. So we don't know, like, we don't really notice, but with TV, like even just shows like that, you have a sci-fi alien show, and you have music that's put out, you have regular sitcoms, but everything is giving you a worldview. Everything.
Oh yeah.
And we don't notice that. We don't notice this. So it's
dude,
that was what I grew up on, man, was just TV. I mean, that was my worldview. I mean, it was I was living in an alternate reality mentally growing up, because that's all I did, and it was sports and movies. It's all I did, man. I could quote
entire scenes from movies, man, and I thought that was so impressive.
Yeah.
But now I look back and I'm like, dude, look at that. All I did was quote movies. Like, it's just like whatever.
I could do whole scenes too. It's funny, but speaking of this coronavirus, I mean, you have athletes like I think the coach for the Saints just got tested positive, diagnosed. But with coronavirus,
I guess it is a diagnosis,
Yeah.
Like, what's a diagnosis, doc? You have coronavirus. You have COVID-19. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Makes sense.
So, but I mean, they're shutting down all the sports. I don't know what. I mean, the funny thing is, so I looked on. I every now and then I like to put a couple bucks into DraftKings and do like a fantasy like baseball or a fantasy basketball little team for the day.
Center.
What?
Center. You're a sinner.
Oh, center.
Why aren't you putting that in your tithe? Come on, let's go.
Yeah.
That's
hey, let me quote one too. All things are lawful for me. Not all things are beneficial. All things are lawful, but I will not be put under the control of anything. So it has no control. I only put $5 in a month.
You're right. Yeah.
So, but yeah. Anyways, I was like, what am so I had $5 in the account, and I'm like, what am I gonna bet on? I can't like do it, because I don't like to do those fantasy baseball leagues or anything. First, it's too time consuming, and second, they're usually expensive and stuff. But where I could pick a team for a day, just one day, do $1 or something, and play against thousands of people for one day. So I think it's kind of cool. But then I get into. I'm like, oh, there's $5 in there. I want to see what even sports are available. I go in there. They're betting on the Democratic debates. Who will mention coronavirus first? Who else? Who's talking first? I'll take that bet. Who's talking first?
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, man.
That's what they're betting on. It's in the sports betting stuff.
Who's gonna bring up taxing the
1%, the top 1% first? Yeah. When both those guys that are running are in the top 1%, it's like
let's get real.
I need to tell you guys something.
That
was my Bernie. You're better at the.
Yeah, Bernie. Yeah.
Easy. Wait, I gotta take my hat off and mess my hair up.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Yeah.
It always looks like he rubbed a balloon on his head.
Oh, he does, man. He just woke up.
Yeah, and he needs a towel because it seems like his spit's like gathering in his mouth. Like, but we have to tax the top 1%. It's like, well, Bernie, dude, you got 3 houses.
you got more houses than I do, man. Come on, let's get real. And you haven't passed.
He's got 3 more than me.
Yeah, dude, it's like, bro, you've passed nothing in your life at all. You've been living off the government for your whole life. I mean, you've done virtually nothing, and you want to give out free stuff and tax everyone
at the highest level. So anyway, that's that. That's funny. It's funny they're betting on that stuff, though. That's great.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, yeah, sure. It blows with the no baseball, or I mean, because I was excited for this season. My Dodgers, I thought this is it. I mean, they're going to be bums sitting on a couch, going to be out of shape. Everyone's afraid to go work out and can't go to the gym anyways. But I mean, I see it as like a little blessing in disguise too. So I mean, everything that's kind of going on in the world right now, I see as a blessing in disguise. So you have by God's providence, I'm planning on getting the little one in, doing her homeschooling next year, right? And I wanted them to teach her how to read and stuff like that. They're not giving a worldview to a kindergartner just yet, so I'm, God forbid, who knows what the future holds. But so now with this coronavirus, she's forced to be out of school, and I have packets and all this stuff, and I got to kind of get in the routine of while I have the time in the morning.
Doing all her schoolwork, doing her lesson plans.
Yeah.
And so by God's providence,
Already getting the on-the-job training for this homeschooling thing, and now by time next year starts, her first grade year, she'll be in homeschooling and I'll already be prepared to do it.
It's good.
So, yeah.
Cool.
So.
Yeah, and if this thing is some sort of, if it's a man-made deal, which it very well could be, the conspiracy theorist is coming out now. You know what I mean?
Put on your tinfoil hat.
Got 2 roles for you.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I mean, really, what man meant for evil, God means for good. He's going to work it all out for His glory, and obviously He's sovereign in everything. I mean,
what no one's talking about is the judgment of God, and this is very well what's going on.
It really is, man. I mean, if you, I was thinking about that today. I was in the garage. Actually, tonight I was working out in the garage in my home gym, so I don't have to worry about trying to get to. Yeah,
you gotta let me come use it, dude.
I'll be doing a thorough.
Yeah, I heard that one last time.
What's that?
I heard that last time too. Oh yeah, when I clean it.
Oh, but you know what though? I'm gonna have time now. I'm gonna have time. That's the thing is I haven't had time. Now I do.
Yeah.
But
yeah, you got judgment.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was thinking about that, going, yeah, man, this is definitely God's judgment. I was thinking about a lot of the Old Testament stuff. Obviously, people getting the judgment
of God. I mean, just you look at the stuff with the Ark of the Covenant, right? I mean, shoot, you're getting all kinds of stuff going on with people, right? They're getting tumors. They're getting all kinds of just crazy stuff happening to them.
Well, I mean,
the ark fell and he touched it.
Uzzah? Yeah. Uzzah, he touches it and he gets incinerated. Obviously, we have strange fire being offered.
Oh, Nat, what's his Nat?
Abihu.
Yeah, Nathan Abihu.
Yeah. But I mean, that's the thing, man. Is you look at Romans 1.
I mean, you throw your fist at God enough, He's gonna go, all right, that's cool.
Yeah. Well, what does judgment look like? But 60 million dead in the nation.
Right.
Yeah.
I
mean, our unborns are being killed at an alarming rate. And what about slimy Pelosi trying to sneak in some abortion money?
How about apples, dude? That's crazy, man. That's
the depravity of the worldview.
But you know what, though? I'm offended because I'm a Catholic. That's Pelosi's quote, right? Yeah. She's like, how dare you say that I hate somebody? That goes against my Catholic views. It's like, oh, wait, hold on a second. Hold the phone. What? What did you say? Did you? Come on.
It's my Catholic views.
You believe your lifestyle shows nothing of anyone that is a Catholic. I'm sorry. I mean, at all. I mean, really.
They would not affirm the murder of children. Sorry. And it's foolish. I love everybody. Well, you don't love your neighbor because you're just pushing the button of saying, kill these children,
Yeah, exactly.
Ridiculous. So,
but bummer. Shout out to all our guys that we GCV guys that we go out, and all Christians around the nation that go out and go out to your local abortion mills and proclaim the gospel of Jesus Christ and call those stumbling to the slaughter to repentance. It's unfortunate that at least here in California and other states across the nation that we're not going to be able to go out and plead with the women not to kill their children, and the businesses are actually going to be able to stay open. So it's considered an essential business. Healthcare serves. Yeah, it falls under that category. So
is going to be open.
Yep. So that's going to be going on right now.
Wow.
Yeah. All medical offices. I mean, they can shut down if business isn't if business is slow and all that. But yeah, it's considered. It falls under that umbrella of. I mean, even my work, like the restaurant's going to stay open. So for curbside and stuff. So there are things that are open, but it's just a bummer because we're not going to be able to go out there and actually protest or anything like that. So.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but we do have things. So I have been doing the research for that stuff. For those that don't know, we're looking to get involved with some Christian adoption agencies and try to get people in our local church to go through the process. Those willing to adopt and that are ready to adopt would go through the process and be have their backgrounds checked, have their home visits already checked out, and then we would have a list, and then we could actually offer that to people. Well, we have, blah blah blah. We have people ready to adopt. Do not kill your baby. Well, so we can go through that process. So that's in the works right now. We got a bunch of good stuff coming up.
Good.
But yep, me and you are long-winded. A conversation that we planned. Yeah, hour and 10 minutes. That's a new record for us.
Wow, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. So hopefully next time we talk, I mean, obviously we're going to probably still be in the same position here. Quarantino, Quentin Quarantino.
Quarantine convos.
Yeah, right. We're going to be Quarantino. So, but yeah, hopefully, we can get some fresh stuff going. You know what I mean? Because it's like you only have so many opportunities to go evangelize or go out to the mill or do something like that. So I mean, but there's always something that's popping off. You know what I mean? There's always something that comes up. There's always something to talk about. I mean, really. So we'll have something good for the next one for sure.
Right on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, everyone that's watching, this is Warrior Chamber Studios. There'll be a link in the description. There's also suggested on my page, if you go, there's a link straight to him, but give him a sub. Got some great content. Thanks for joining, and we'll catch you next time.
All right.
Adios.
I've been called number one a couple times. Some guy told me to do something to myself physically that I can't do. So that was interesting.